Well, we meet again. This time, it's kind of like the last time. The Jags are a better team, and the Houston Texans are hoping to get a victory to possibly stay in the playoff race, even if it's possible.
You are Locked On NFL Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Battered Nation and Jacksonville, Locked On Jags, Locked On Texans. It's time to talk football on today's crossover episode. I'm John Hickman. That's Tony Wigg, the OG and the Young Buck, the mentee. We're talking football today, right?
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
That's what we're doing. And we got to talk about the two teams in the AFC South. A surprise season for Houston. They're stinking it up right now. Somewhat of a surprise season for the Jacksonville Jaguars. A really good team, all things considered. New head coach, new general manager. They put together a decent roster. So that's what we're going to talk about. The biggest storylines, the key matchups, and this game's prediction on Sunday, where Houston needs to win to keep any hopes alive, and for Jacksonville to keep their playoff hopes alive as well, as they are fighting for that last wild card victory. They got the tiebreaker over Kansas City. So we'll dive into that. Today's crossover episode is presented by PrizePicks. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Jags fans don't want to hear from me right now, Wig. They want to hear from you. And Texan fans need to know what's been happening, what's up with this team since we met in week 3. So just give us a little bit of update and some of the storylines surrounding Jacksonville right now.
Yeah, a little banged up, mainly at wide receiver at the skill positions. They're getting some guys back this weekend. The last time you guys were here, Tyson Campbell was still a member of the team. He is no longer here. There was a trade. They traded him away. But the team was very opportunistic early with turnovers. They kind of picked back up a little bit against the Raiders at the right time in their last game. So that's a good thing. But the main thing is Trevor Lawrence is still giving you the Trevor Lawrence experience. It's a little bit up and down, but it's more up than down. And the biggest part of it is it's up at the right time. And I mean by that, I mean late in the game, it's up. So he's showing a lot of grit and a lot of determination. They're just finding ways to win. They're finding ways to win these football games that are close football games, and they're 5-3 with the Colts losing. They're only 2 games back from being in the lead in the division, and they have to play the Colts twice. So made a trade for Jacoby Myers to help the receiving core. That I think that's a now and later move, especially if it works out and they can re-sign him to a contract. But all is well. All is well. Not so much in Houston. Playing with a backup quarterback. Look, I'm being honest with you. I'm not doing this just for clicks on here. I know what it's like when a team has a bad offensive line, and it is something that it is very, very difficult to overcome. And I don't envy y'all having to overcome that. The quarterback banged up now because of it.
Yeah, it's been frustrating to watch. And I'll say this: when we look at the banged up offensive line, week 3. Josh Allen really took the rookie Ariante Ursery's lunch.
Took him through there, up and through there. That's what they say, right?
Take me through there. That's what he did. But since week 3, I mean, I think he's been an ascending player for the Houston Texans. Not a lot, right? But he's been one of those guys, and he's been somewhat everything as good as advertised. Now, where the issue has come from Houston, for Houston rather, guard center guard combo. Play Seattle, they still are unable to pick up stunts and twists. And then you just look at some of these better defensive lines that Houston has had to play. Andrews has had some terrible tape out there. Houston also, during that time span, has opted to rotate left guards. Why? I couldn't give you a logical reason, but that's what they've been doing outside of the offensive line, guys. And this is for Jags fan. I do want to say this. Where Houston is right now, it speaks directly towards offseason negligence. Thinking that it felt like Houston and general manager Nick Caserio rode with coaches over players. Not necessarily saying that he picked the coach over an existing player on the roster, but not going out and getting absolute dogs, absolute playmakers, absolute guards and centers that know how to protect the quarterback. If you look at who Houston brought in over the offseason, Laken Tomlinson, one of the worst graded and eyesight guards in the NFL the last couple of seasons. Jake Andrews, who I was a fan of, but he only had one start in his NFL season. This is who the Houston Texans look to help protect their quarterback, C.J. Stroud, along with bringing in a first-time play caller and Nick Caley. So the newness surrounding Houston, it's been bad. Y'all see it. It's been god-awful. On the flip side, there's been some things, even with the ups and downs from the receiving core, there's been some things from Jacksonville that I think has absolutely played out in y'all favor. And number one has just been guys being able to get after the quarterback and win those games where traditionally the last couple of seasons maybe they would have lost.
Yeah, well, pass rush is still an issue, and it's not because they don't have two good ends. It's mainly because they're not getting a lot of pressure in the middle. And then there's situational things like game flow issues and those type things. So when you watch the Jaguars, you really can't pinpoint one thing that when you say, why aren't they winning? You know, a lot of people like to say, well, it's Trevor. He's not as good at talk about his contract. Your contract ain't got nothing to do with how you play on Sunday. It doesn't. I mean, the bottom line is that's business stuff. It has nothing to do with it. And there are also people that if you criticize Trevor, think that you're actually blaming him for everything. We're not. Trevor Lawrence has more drop passes than any quarterback
in the NFL
since he's been in the league. I mean, and that's crazy. And even
24 drops on a year for
James Gladstone addressed it. He said one of the reasons that we went and got Jacoby is because his superpower is catching the ball, and we have had a problem with doing that. That's just what it is. For the Jaguars, it's not about how good they can be on certain days. It's about how good they can be on certain days and how willing they are to also be bad sometimes on those days. So it's the variance. And Trevor Lawrence's play exemplifies a bigger picture, and that's what this team is. Self-inflicted wounds, getting behind the sticks and down the distance because of pre-snap penalties. There's a newness to it all. But the one thing that I can tell you is I think they have the bodies, they have the people to be competitive, even early in the playoffs. And then they have a coaching staff that the team and the players believe in. And I think that that's a very, very important thing because in the past, I don't think that was the case. And you probably wouldn't know that if you weren't here. But the whole body language and the culture, everything is really, really changing. And I think that's the difference between them winning close games and losing close games. And that's why they're 5-3 and not 3-5.
Yeah, well, that's why Houston is 3-5 and not 5-3.
I know it. That's why. I'm petty. That's probably why I said that the way I said it. So because this is a crossover, and you are my friend, but we're gonna get these jokes off. You know what I'm saying?
We got to. Now, one thing, if I look at how the Houston Texans could possibly win this game, is absolutely creating disruption for Trevor Lawrence. Because the numbers say if you get in his face, he's going to have a hard time being a productive quarterback. So when we come back, let's look at some of the key matchups. And again, just keep talking football because I know you got more jokes about the AFC South show to kick off this season. I was talking crazy. So I know the joke's going to come, but we got more Texans and Jags talk when we come back on the opposite side. Before that conversation is had, you know the saying, look good, feel good. Shout out to Deion Sanders. The problem is most dress clothes only check one of those boxes. You look sharp but feel stiff, hot, and high maintenance. That's where Mizzen & Main comes in. Mizzen & Main makes classic menswear. I got the shirt on today, actually, with performance fabric, so it's effortless to look sharp and feel comfortable. They actually invented the performance fabric shirt over 10 years ago, and they perfected it ever since. Listen, this is one of their shirts right now for my YouTube listeners. I feel comfortable. I feel like I can go for a mile walk, and none of it feels stiff on my body. It feels like athletic wear, but with the professional and formal look. Right now, Mizzen & Main is offering our listeners 20% off their first purchase at mizzenandmain.com with promo code LOCKEDONNFL20. That's Mizzen, spelled M-I-Z-Z-E-N, and Maine, MAIN.com. Promo code Locked On NFL for 20% off. If you'd rather shop in person, you can find the Mizzen and Maine store in select states. And also, here on the Locked On Texans podcast and Locked On Jags podcast and the Locked On Network, we want to make sure that you have every opportunity to feel empowered. And this episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. We make decisions every day, but you can feel empowered and win money and get paid when your decision-making hits over on PrizePicks. Don't miss any of the excitement of the sports season, whether you're following the NFL, NBA, or both. There's no better time to jump in on the action. If you haven't tried it yet, PrizePicks is the simplest way to play. Just pick more or less on at least 2 player stat projections. And if you get them right, you win. It takes less than 60 seconds to make your lineup, and you can play anywhere PrizePicks operate, including California, Texas, and Georgia, 3 of the 4 states that produce the best football athletes, especially at the collegiate level coming out of high school. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's Locked On NFL for $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Welcome back in, Jags and Texans listeners and viewers of the Locked On Texans and the Locked On Jags podcast, your teams every day. Wig, you are one of my good friends. We've been friends now for 7 years, 8 years.
Yep.
Feels like it's been a while, coming up on a decade.
Been a minute.
It's been a minute. This is the first time I'm probably gonna say this. I'm giving you the floor to say whatever you gotta say.
Nah, man, we ain't got to beat up on each other because You know what? The second I do that, Davis,
Cody would have.
Oh yeah, of course he will. Of course he would. Davis Mills. I don't want this to be another Jake Browning situation. The Jaguars lost to Jake Browning this year. The Jaguars lost to Jake Browning about 2 or 3 years ago too on Monday night when Joe Burrow was out. The biggest thing for me in the storylines for me is you got to act like CJ Stroud. You got to act like Warren Moon. You got to act like everybody's back there. You got to treat this like they're locked and loaded and locked in. Because I tell you what, usually a backup is a backup for a reason, but a backup always that first chance he gets to play, that first start, oh man, he's lights out, and everybody always thinks that the backup needs to be a starter. I don't want that to be the case after this Sunday when people look at the Jaguars and Davis Mills go, well, maybe Davis Mills is the answer. No, we got to make sure that we treat him like he's a starter because this week he is, and they really have to lock in. And that's why I think the pass rush for us is going to be so important. You did mention the pass rush for you guys, and I'm going to tell you right now, one of the storylines for me is the Jaguars inherently want to get back to the run. I don't know if you saw the end of the Raiders game last week in overtime, but they ran the ball 8 out of 9 plays. They got it. They used up about 8 minutes of the clock, and they ran the ball and scored a touchdown in overtime. That's who they want to be. They want to play behind their offensive line, play behind their running game. And I know when you have a quarterback, especially one like we mentioned the contract that makes a lot of money, the first thing people say is, well, you got to turn him loose and let him be Superman. No, I think you have to insulate guys like that. Think about Tom Brady at the beginning of his career. I know he ended his career with more yards than anybody, but when they won those first 3 championships in that 6-championship dynasty, they were a running team. They were not a passing team. In fact, his best passing years in New England, they lost the Super Bowls to the Giants. So, don't even think that that's the way that this is supposed to go. The way that you combat the pass rush is to run the football and run the football successfully. So I really believe that the middle 3 of the Jaguars, when you talk guard, center, guard, that's going to have to be where they get it at, because they're going to have to run the ball on the interior of the defensive line, and even sometimes run at those ends just to keep them honest. I think that'll keep their pass rush back a little bit.
Now, one thing that you mentioned, Davis Mills will be the starter this week. No CJ Stroud, no Kaimi Fairbairn, who right now is the Houston Texans' best red zone weapon. Just to let y'all know, Fairbairn is a kicker, and he's the Texans' best red zone weapon. Maybe no Jalen Petrie. Right now, 14 players on the injury report for the Houston Texans. Half of those players are starters, including Will Anderson, who's on the injury report as well. starting right tackle, Titus Howard. You mentioned the Jags having to run the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And I mentioned coming into the break that, hey, listen, I think this D line and essentially the front seven for Houston is going to have to win them the game. On the season, ETN is rushing for 5 yards per carry. That's amazing. 75 yards per game. That's very good. And then not to mention what he does in the passing game. What the Houston Texans have done this year defensively, and we don't highlight it enough, everything teams traditionally have done well throughout the year, the Texans defense have taken that away from them. Even when we look at the Sam Darnold Seattle Seahawks game, they scored about 28 points, but Sam Darnold also had 4 turnovers in that game, something that he wasn't doing throughout the year. And so when I go back to week 3's matchup, 3.5 yards per carry, only 56 yards on the ground. That's how Houston's defense is going to keep them in the game and win them the game. They're going to have to take away ETN, as you mentioned. Run that ball, that's great. But Houston's defense throughout 10 weeks, they've taken away. And then also on the year, the last 3 games, y'all started out protecting Trevor Lawrence very well.
Right.
I think 6 sacks in the first 4 games.
Yep. And then like 13 or 14 the last couple of weeks.
The last 3 weeks, 17 sacks.
Mm-hmm.
And then under pressure this year, Trevor Lawrence, 3 interceptions, a 51.2 completion percentage. And on those, under pressure, he also holds on to the ball too long. This is also dealing with 24 drops on the year. It's going to be Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter that wins this game for him. It's going to be the rotational guys on the inside at D tackle that wins the game for them. And Houston's going to need a better performance from Henry To'oTo'o to be in spots where he needs to be, so Trevor Lawrence won't be able to dump the ball off quickly. He's been atrocious this year, one of the worst missed tackle rates in the NFL, which is not good. Mm-hmm. But overall, I look at this defense and how they've been able to carry them and keep them in games. This is another game on Sunday where even a minor breakdown in defense could cost this team the game. And if they lose the game, they're out of the playoffs altogether. But it's up to our defense here in Houston to get it done. And it's up to Davis Mills to play complimentary football. We're not asking Davis Mills to go be a superstar. We're not asking Davis Mills to go drop 300, but not turn the ball over and just be consistent on third down. Now, for Nick Caley in the offense, your game plan doesn't need to be centered around what you would do with C.J. Stroud. It needs to be centered around what you will do with Davis Mills. And that is, I think, a heavy dose of running the ball, like you mentioned for y'all, and not taking a bunch of deep shots. It's not going to be the game for Davis Mills. Maybe 1 or 2 to get Nico Collins involved, but overall, keeping the ball in front of the defense to limit any type of turnovers, I think, is the game plan for Houston on Sunday.
Yeah, it sounds like that'd be a good game plan. I would involve the tight end too. The tight end, covering the tight end is always something, you know.
And Dalton Schultz been balling for Houston.
Yeah, where Jacksonville has he had a good game, I think, the first time they played us. But Devin Lloyd's coming back. Devin Lloyd's been out for 3 or 4 weeks now, dealing with something. And I heard he's a full go. He had been working out for a couple of weeks. So that's going to help with coverage. It also help with playmaking. The key for the Jaguars is, can they hold up in the secondary with Eric Murray? He's banged up. He had a good game against the Texans the first time. He's banged up this time. He's been dealing with a little bit of injury with his neck, and it kind of keeps popping up a little bit. And of course, Jordan Lewis, who they acquired from Dallas, has been banged up as well. But I get it. And to address the sacks with Trevor, some of that is on the fact that the offensive line was banged up. Some of it is that they played against a couple of really good teams that know how to get out the quarterback. Seattle was one of them. And Walker leaves a little bit to be desired at left tackle. But for the most part, it's also been the down and distance. It's been the penalties. They're one of the most penalized teams in the league, man. And if you get behind on the sticks, that moves you away from the running game, and it puts you in a position where you have to throw.
Oh, we know about it.
And once you have to throw and everybody knows it, then everybody starts to pin their ears back. But I got a feeling we'll be all right this weekend. I'll give you my prediction in segment 3.
Let's get into that prediction when we come back. Man, I think I'm going to say my thoughts on what I think is going to happen. Houston's just not a good team right now, man.
I agree.
Let's close out the game with the show, with the predictions. Before we dive into the predictions, listen, Texan fans, if you can, get to the game on Sunday. It's simple. The Jags are coming to town. Houston will need the energy. They are a better team at home, and they need y'all in the stadium. And if you have not got a chance to get your ticket, you can do so now on Gametime. With the NFL season here, also NBA action is kicking off as well. There's nothing better than being in the stadium surrounded by fans cheering on your team. But let's be honest, getting tickets can be a hassle between queues, login screens, and also prices jumping at checkout. I understand it can be frustrating. That's why I use the Gametime app. Give the advantage back to the fans. Gametime is fast, easy, and backed by the Gametime guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time at the best price. Plus, all fees are included. So the price you pay is the price you see, and this price you see is the price that comes out your checking account. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms and conditions apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON, NFL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Gametime today. Closing out today's episode, it's all about the game predictions. Sunday is a must. Every game for Houston is a must win moving forward for the Texans. But I also think it's fair to say every game for the Jags is a must win to keep their playoff hopes alive. A lot of Texan fans discredit what the Jags have done this year. I'm not going to be that guy, simply because what I thought the Jags were going to be and where they are now, I got to give credit where credit is due. Liam Cohen is doing everything he can to put that offense together. Some of the moves that's been made to create a good roster by that first-time general manager, I think, is respectable in his first year. I'm sorry, man. Y'all a good team. Y'all a good ball club, man. And on Sunday, I think when I look at what Houston struggles with, they struggle with better teams. They have not beat a team that wasn't injury-riddled in San Fran, injury-riddled Baltimore, no Lamar Jackson. That defense is banged up, right? And then Tennessee is just Tennessee.
Right.
We get that. And we will talk to the madman, Tyler Rowland, when we get a chance to talk to him again. But overall, the Jags are a better team. I don't see the Houston Texans winning this game on Sunday, especially without their franchise quarterback, C.J. Stroud. I think this is a game they can probably get away from them early, and they won't have a chance in it. 24-13. Davis Mills just maybe with a week of practice as a starter, he plays better. But overall, they're asking a lot of the offense without Stroud, and they're going to continue to ask a lot of the defense. And time again, the offense just lets them down.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a little closer. I wouldn't be surprised if it came down to the last couple of possessions. But it'll probably be a game that the Jaguars kind of dominate, like a lot of their games. And you go, why is it so close? It feels like they're up 34-10, and it's like 23-16. What's going on? Because that's just who they are, and that's how it is. And this is the NFL, bro. I've seen the Packers lose games that I didn't think they were supposed to. They lost to Carolina and they lost to Cleveland. Think about it. A win is a win in the NFL. So I'm to the point now where I don't care about margin of victory. I'm on the bandwagon of just a win is a win, and then turn it into the coach speak guy that says, look, a win is a win. We got the victory. Got a lot of stuff to clean up. You know, I love that one. Got a lot of stuff to clean up, but
we're heading in the right direction.
We're heading in the right direction. You know what I'm saying? But we got to clean some stuff up. Yeah, that's all right. We be 6-3 and be dirty. I'd rather be 6-3 and be dirty than be 3-6 and clean. So my thing is, we can look dirty and the game can be tight and the game can be close. And I think it's going to be, because outside of 26-10 win early in the year against Carolina, that was a weird game because it was like a stoppage because of weather for like an hour or so. All of the Jaguars games have been close, with the exception of the blowout loss that they had to the Rams in London. All of them have been very, very close. I don't think this is going to be any different. I think it'll be close as well. But at the end of the day, I do believe the Jaguars are going to win because this is a team that is learning how to beat opponents that you're supposed to win. And as much as we joke about needing to clean things up, the difference is the object is to win and to move on, survive and advance, move on. Last week was more of a must win because at the start of Sunday, you didn't want to be a team like Jacksonville to lose to a team that you should beat. I'd rather win against a team that you should beat and it be ugly than to lose to a team that you should beat. And then we didn't know if the Colts were going to beat the Steelers or not and be 8-1 and be 3 games out. Because that didn't happen and because Houston lost, this isn't so much of a must win as it is. You know what? It'd be nice to go ahead and win this one to sweep Houston. And now you probably, like you say, the Titans are the Titans. They have 4 division games left. They haven't played Tennessee and they haven't played the Colts. It's possible that they could go 6-0. And I think in the beginning of the season when we did our prediction show, I said they'd go 5-1 in the division and they win it. So the thing is we have to look at what's in front of them. And what's in front of them is they're a team that hopefully not only have they won these games, but they've kind of learned how to win these close games. And you know, they say fake it till you make it. Well, winning games ain't faking it. That's actually winning games. So that is the key. And I think the Jaguars are going to do it this week. I anticipate a close game, but I also think that one of the things that I thought was an advantage that was a detriment, but showed back up last week is Cam Little. Cam Little can kick that thing from Katie, bro.
70 yards.
Yeah, and he made a 70-yarder in the preseason. He broke the record with a 68-yarder. That would have been good for 78, by the way. That advantage that they have now when they get across midfield or close to it, that they can run him out there and get points. I think the fact that he's broken that slump is tremendous. And that's going to be the key for them moving down the stretch because now – that turns back into something that the defense has to watch, and they can't back off and just assume we're going to give them this underneath stuff. No, you can't give them the underneath stuff because they get to midfield, that kick and kick it. So the Jaguars are slowly getting healthy, and no Travis Hunter also that hurts a little bit because he had really come on offensively. So
what is he for y'all?
No, I think it's been a little bit overblown because of the expectations.
No, my question, what is he for y'all? I look at Travis Hunter and I think he can be an elite cornerback. But right before the injury, I mean, and he did it in college, he was turning up as a playmaker on offense. What would you like to see his career be in Jacksonville?
Well, the hardest part is over. That transition period, that feeling out, trying to figure it out, that part is over. I believe that he learned the hardest position, which is their F position, which is the slot. He was learning the most difficult thing, and that's what you do with superlative players. You put the most on their plate. And this is what everybody wanted, right? So people say, just put him on the field. No, we're going to put it on him. Travis is a 10-year player for the Jacksonville. For the Jaguars, when you give up 2 first-round picks, that ain't just about instant impact. That's about doing the right thing, even if it doesn't look right to a whole bunch of people. And nobody knew what the right thing was, and they admitted they didn't know what it was going to look like, how it was going to play out. They've taken a lot of criticism, but everybody who's criticized them doesn't understand that if they were in the same position, it would probably look the same way. He is a good cornerback. I think he could roll out of bed and be an all-pro corner. Wide receiver takes time to learn all of the nuances. You know what I'm saying? It's a big jump to go from high school to Jackson State to Colorado to the NFL. And no disrespect to Colorado, it ain't like he was playing in the SEC where he had to go play for Nick Saban and go through all of this. It's just not. It's not the same thing. So that's a huge jump for a kid that some people think that they just put him out there and just took advantage of his ability. Well, when you get to the NFL, and the example I use is Houston, if everybody was healthy. It ain't that easy to guard Nico Collins for a whole drive and then come out there and think you're going to run past Derek Stingley. Those dudes ain't going to let you do that. So now there's the adjustment part of it. It's about being in different meeting rooms. If you watch the games, you would see sometimes he didn't know where to line up on offense and he had to be told. So I think that hard part is over. And now when he does come back later on in the season and for the future, you're going to see the absolute best out of him. And there's no game where he goes on the field and he's not at least one of the 3 most talented players on the field outside of quarterbacks. There's no game I've seen where when you look at run, jump, athlete, twitch, and want to and desire, I haven't seen a game where there was more than two other guys out there on that field that were just like him. So now I think they figured out how they're going to move. It's too bad he got injured, but when he comes back, there'll be a better plan on how to execute with him, because they're going to learn how to execute without him. He's going to get a chance to watch it. And they're going to be a dangerous team, man, if they can manage to get on a little bit of a winning streak here without him, and then you bring him in and add him back to it. That makes the Jaguars a very, very dangerous team down the stretch.
Y'all heard it first. Stamped. I can't wait to see the return of and fullness and healthiness of Travis Hunter. I think he's an amazing kid. I think he's an amazing athlete. And I hate to say this. Well, I don't hate to say this, but him being for his hometown, playing for his hometown, and what he could potentially be, I think it's just great for football, great for the brand.
Yeah, he ain't from Jacksonville. He's from Florida. But
from Florida.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, he's from down in the, I think from near the Broward County area. But still, he's still one of us. He's still a Florida boy. You know, Duval, man. Florida boys do it different. My man, Lil Duval in Houston hosting the day party too. And he's gonna be at the game. Yeah, he'll be there Saturday. So watch out for him. Y'all take care of my people up there, man. You know, I got two daughters. I got one in Galleria and one in River Oaks up there doing their thing in Houston. Shout out to my baby. So they've been living there for a few years now. Yep.
Shout out to the Wigs. See, that's you know what? That's why we family, man.
That's right.
Outside of this football talk, man. Thank y'all for watching today's podcast, listening to today's podcast. I'm John Hickman. That's Tony Wiggins. Make sure that you follow us on our respective podcasts, Locked On Jags, Locked On Texans. And we got a game on Sunday that could either be ugly or tight, but either way, it's going to be an AFC South division game where both teams need to win to keep their playoff hopes alive. Until next time, ladies and gents, peace.